Theobroma, a lovely word, a Greek word, food of the gods. Greece is a fabled country, incredibly beautiful herself, and also spread over 1,000 spectacular islands. Greece at first was a collection of city-states, then later a massive empire welded by the hand of Alexander the Great. A stark land steeped in the tradition and myths that once burned their way almost to India. Our present culture, ways of thinking, and even our language owe heavy debts to the Grecian customs. The foods in Greece still remember the old glories, but are firmly rooted in the land. I think of lemons, beautiful yellow spheres, tasting of the brilliant sunshine that poured over Greece. Glossy purple eggplants bursting with promise of fabulous stuffings, and I remember lamb, skewered or roasted alone with the ancient herbs, rosemary, oregano, and garlic. Or better still, lamb in combination with eggplants or artichokes. And desserts rich with ground nuts, phyllo pastry, and honey, the ancient amber nectar. And last but not least, vineyards ripening in the sun, sweet with a natural richness, waiting their crushing to make living waters. Retsina, Mavrodaphne, the very names cause the nose to twitch and excite the palate. What better way to sample the glories of Greek cuisine than to start with appetizers? Little teasers exciting the appetite for bigger and better things. Greek hors d'oeuvres are called mesodakia. The name rolls off the tongue, piquing the imagination for unknown delights. First, a less familiar hot hors d'oeuvre or mesodakia, tyropita, or a cheese pastry. Tyro, cheese, pita, bread or pastry. An intriguing combination of a fragile, rich, buttery pastry, plump with melting feta, a Greek cheese, and herbs. A beautiful study in contrasts, crisp, rich pastry, spurting with the pungent cheese filling. I think these are best served hot directly from the oven. They make a beautiful display of little golden brown triangular pillows. I usually keep lots of napkins handy, for tyropita can be messy, with cheese and butter everywhere, but quite rewarding. Tyropita. Take 1 package of frozen phyllo pastry or strudel dough. It's available in many large supermarkets, Greek delicatessens, or many places specializing in Middle European or Mid-Eastern foods. 1/4 cup melted butter, 1/4 cup crumbled feta cheese, 1/2 cup grated Monterey Jack cheese, 2 tablespoons of chopped parsley, 1/8 of a teaspoonful of oregano, 1/8 of a teaspoonful of nutmeg, 1/8 of a teaspoon of salt and granulated black pepper, 2 eggs. If you are fortunate enough to have a food processor, I first grate the cheese in it, pour it in a bowl, and then change blades and chop parsley in the processor, and then throw in all the other ingredients and mix. If not, then mix cheeses, parsley, oregano, salt and pepper, and the eggs till thoroughly blended, and then set them aside. Then I cut the phyllo dough sheets in half lengthwise. The dough looks like a stack of 12 by 18 tissue paper sheets. You will need 24 long strips. They will be roughly 6 inches wide and 16 to 18 inches long, depending on the dough you've bought. Lay a single sheet of the phyllo on a clean, flat surface, preferably wax paper. Brush it lightly with melted butter, then fold it in half lengthwise. Brush the new surface lightly again with butter, and now center a full teaspoon of the cheese filling on the right side of the dough, about 1 inch above the bottom. Then bring the left side of the dough over the filling to form a triangular pocket, with the bottom edge of the dough against the right side of the dough. Continue folding like a flag till all the piece of dough is used up and you have a little triangular pillow. You should now be extremely happy or horribly depressed, depending on your success or failure. Nonetheless, continue with the remaining 23 strips in the same fashion. Place the little pillows on a buttered baking sheet and brush them with melted butter. They can be refrigerated or frozen till baking time. If you choose to freeze them, let them thaw before baking them. Then bake them at 275 degrees until golden brown. These are ideal for preparing in small batches in a toaster oven, leaving you free to enjoy your guests. I always serve these tyropita quickly, but I also warn my guests they can be very hot, and who wants a burned tongue with a delicious Greek dinner to follow? I think these tyropitas should seal your reputation as a cook of renown forever. I have found even the most complacent, blasé guests to turn in wide-eyed approval when they first bite into these little treasures. A beautiful garnish for these hot tyropita are several fresh green leaves around the platter, or better yet, sometimes I cover the platter with fresh leaves. Grape leaves are ideal and traditional. The dark green makes a beautiful contrast against the golden brown tyropita. Sometimes the pace gets so frantic, a simpler hors d'oeuvre is called for. I like to keep a trick or two in the oven that doesn't call for my complete attention. I feel that if we take the trouble to entertain friends, we owe them our attention to the details beforehand that allow us to give them ourselves. A recipe that allows this is soutsacakia with yogurt. These are little meatballs spiced with mint, onion, and garlic. Now, don't be afraid of the garlic. After cooking, it blends beautifully. Even the most inveterate garlic haters eat it at my house. Well, enough philosophy on the soutsacakia. First, the ingredients. 3/4 of a pound of ground lean veal. You will probably have to ask your butcher for this. Don't be shy, you deserve the best. 3/4 of a pound of lean ground beef. 2 medium white onions chopped. Now, I choose firm, heavy onions. If the onion feels light, it's not fresh. 2 garlic cloves chopped. There's an easy way to peel garlic, you know. I lay the cloves on my chopping block, and then I smash them violently with the flat side of my largest butcher knife. The papery peel can then be lifted right off, leaving the naked garlic clove ready for chopping. 1/2 cup breadcrumbs and 1 egg. Mix in 2 tablespoons of fresh lemon juice and 1 teaspoon of grated lemon rind and 2 tablespoons of chopped mint and parsley. 1/8 teaspoon of ground cumin seed, salt, freshly ground pepper, and 1 teaspoon of meat tenderizer. It keeps our meatballs juicier somehow. I always include tenderizer with my ground meat as well as my whole pieces of meat. Mix these ingredients thoroughly. Get your fingers into it, making sure the texture is smooth and well blended. Then roll it into 50 little meatballs. Fry them a few at a time in 2 to 3 tablespoons of olive oil. I think an electric skillet is ideal for this. The heat remains constant and the whole batch can be held there till serving time. I prepare an incredibly simple sauce for the soutsacakia. I lift all the meatballs from the pan and stir 2 tablespoons of flour in the drippings till the mixture is smooth. Then I add an 8-ounce carton of plain yogurt, 2 tablespoons of lemon juice and chopped parsley, plus 1 teaspoon of honey to round out the flavor. Mix this well and heat it on medium heat, stirring it constantly. This is no time to be lazy. Just stir till it bubbles. Then pour in your beautiful soutsacakia. Turn the skillet to simmer or lower, and they will remain till serving time. Or if you are ambitious, these can be made ahead and frozen or refrigerated. But please, if you freeze them, let them thaw completely before heating them, or I warn you, oh horrors, your sauce, my sauce, could separate. What a dish these are, not only lovely but healthy. Imagine a protein appetizer sauced with yogurt. The dieters will adore you, and for the sophisticated, these are lovely with a rosé or a light red wine. And that wine is a perfect prelude to an exciting Greek salad. Lettuce, of course, is all important to a salad. I prowl my market looking for the freshest, crispest greens. If the market greens look the least wilted, fix your produce man with a baleful stare and ask for the fresh stuff from the back room. Better yet, shop early in the morning before the produce is picked over, and then you get the best. On to the salad. I use 2 heads of romaine and 1 head of bronze or red leaf lettuce and wash them completely. Then drain them. Most people don't drain the lettuce well, but this is very important. Then chill completely. Every drop of water sticking to the lettuce dilutes your carefully balanced salad dressing. So we break our well-drained lettuce into bite-sized pieces. In a wooden salad bowl, rubbed with a cut clove of garlic, which is then tossed out. Then I toss in the goodies. 1/2 cup of black olives, 1 cup of chilled cooked green beans, 2 cored and sliced ripe tomatoes, slivers of green peppers and onions, about 1/2 cup's worth, and last but most important, 1/2 cup of crumbled feta cheese, or more if you're reckless. I then make my dressing. A salad with this much attention deserves the care of a homemade dressing. First squeeze about 1/4 of a cup of fresh lemon juice. I always use lemon juice for this salad because it's tangier and lighter. Somehow it blends better with these ingredients than its alternatives. Add 1/3 of a cup of olive oil and 1 teaspoonful of salt and granulated black pepper. Beat this up at the last moment and toss it on the salad, mixing it thoroughly but gently. Freshness is the keynote of this procedure. This salad should taste like a Greek garden which has just transplanted itself into your dining room. I keep serving the appetizer wine through the salad course. With a lemon dressing, the wine doesn't necessarily clash with the salad. The Greeks adore lamb, and so do I. It's tender, succulent, and so rich in flavor. I serve it often, particularly in the spring when it's at its peak availability and incidentally lowest prices, too. The simplicity of this preparation is almost wicked, and no one needs to know that you haven't slaved for hours over it. First to the butcher and buy a nice leg of lamb. If you are timid about carving, have him bone it for you. The rest is easy. Peel and crush 2 or 3 cloves of garlic and rub them all over your leg of lamb. Then sprinkle on at least 2 tablespoons of oregano and about 2 tablespoons of granulated black pepper. Then we merely roast it at 350 for 25 minutes per pound. Be sure to allow an extra 1/2 hour for the roast to repose at room temperature. It relaxes the meat and it carves much easier. Now, I realize that most people have a minor nervous breakdown when faced with a roast to carve in front of company. For goodness sakes, use an electric knife then. It's far better and much kinder to the meat to slice it thinly with a little electrical help than to hack the poor lamb into chunks fit for barbarians. An ambrosial side dish for our leg of lamb is tomates plakisi, or a rice and tomato dish. It can be served cold as an appetizer, but I prefer it as a combination vegetable and starch dish. The aroma and color are a lovely complement for the medium rare lamb roast. First, we need 1 cup of cooked rice. Even leftover cooked rice can be used. You see, I'm not a complete food snob. Then cut 4 or 5 tomatoes in half. And for this dish, they should not be overripe, so pick them a little less than brilliant red. Squeeze the halves gently over the sink to rid them of extra juice and those seeds. That saves a lot of mess in the end. And then thinly slice 3 white onions and saute them in 3 to 4 tablespoons full of olive oil. When they start to get golden, stir in the rice and cook the whole mixture 3 or 4 minutes longer. Stir it constantly. Now place all your tomato halves cut side up in a baking dish and top them with the onions and rice, making neat little heaps on each tomato half. Then sprinkle the onion-rice mixture with 1/2 teaspoon of allspice, 1 teaspoon of sugar, and 1 teaspoon of salt and freshly ground black pepper. Add 1/4 cup white or rosé wine around the base of the tomatoes, cover it tightly, and bake it for 30 minutes at 350. In the same oven as the lamb, ideally. These are served most prettily surrounding the leg of lamb or sliced lamb on your carving board or platter. The light vegetable flavors complement the lamb perfectly, and the whole dish is beautiful to look at. Best of all, the tomates plaquisi can be prepared ahead and refrigerated. Then allow them to come to room temperature and bake them in the oven with the roast. You know, I hear screams everywhere, "My husband hates lamb. My guests will never eat it." So we have an alternative, moussaka. Don't be afraid. Think of it as a Greek version of lasagna. How simple. First we buy an eggplant. It's easy. Just look for the darkest, purplest, shiniest one you can find. Grab it, buy it, and take it home. What a magnificent vegetable. Now lightly brown 2 chopped onions and 2 chopped cloves of garlic in 3 tablespoons full of olive oil. Here's a little hint. I detest chopping onions, and there is an easy way. Peel your onions and garlic and cut the onions in quarters. Toss them in your blender with the 2 cloves of garlic, and then cover the vegetables with water until they float about 1/2 or 1 inch above the blender blades. Put the lid on and turn the blender off and on to the highest speed as quickly as you can 4 times. Drain the onions in the colander, and you have no tears, and you have chopped onions. Take your beautiful eggplant now and peel off the lovely purple skin. It's beautiful to look at, but it's rather bitter when it's cooked. I cut my peeled eggplant into 1/2 inch slices and sprinkled them with salt and let them set for 1/2 hour or more on lots of paper towels for the excess moisture to drain out. This works out nicely because the eggplant slices can drain while the onions saute. I next put the sautéed onions and garlic on several sheets of waxed paper. Why dirty an extra bowl? Then I brown 1 pound of lean ground beef, breaking it into small bits with a fork while it browns. When it is done, drain off all the excess liquid and fat, and stir in the onions and garlic, plus a teaspoon of salt and 1/2 teaspoon of oregano, thyme, and nutmeg each. I also add about 2 tablespoons of chopped parsley and 1 can of stewed tomatoes drained well. Then we add 1/2 cup of white wine and bring everything to a simmer. Turn off the heat and let the mixture cool. Stir in 1/4 cup of breadcrumbs and 2 egg whites. Make sure the mixture is cooled enough so it doesn't cook your egg whites. And save the yolks. We need them later. Now we must dry off the eggplant slices. Then saute them on a lightly oiled surface. An electric grill is ideal for this. Sprinkle on an oblong baking dish with 1/4 cup of breadcrumbs. They help soak up the extra liquid. Lay the sautéed eggplant in a layer on the bottom and cover it with the meat mixture. We will now make a simple sauce to cover the meat mixture. Melt 3 tablespoons full of butter and stir in 3 tablespoons full of flour. Add 1.5 cups of whole milk, stirring constantly. I always use a French wire whisk to ensure a perfectly smooth sauce. Cook the butter, flour, and milk mixture till it thickens, stirring constantly. Then take it from the heat and beat 3 tablespoons of the sauce into your 2 egg yolks and pour the egg yolk sauce mixture into the bulk of the sauce, again stirring constantly. Be diligent The end is near, believe me. Add 1/2 a teaspoonful of salt, pepper, and nutmeg each. Now congratulate yourself, for you have just made a lovely bechamel sauce. You didn't know you had it in you, did you? Well, neither did I. Pour the bechamel proudly over the meat mixture and sprinkle it all with 4 tablespoons of grated Parmesan cheese, preferably fresh. At this point, the moussaka can either be refrigerated until you need it, even overnight, or baked at 350 degrees for 45 minutes. Allow it to cool 10 minutes before serving so the flavors can mellow and blend. This moussaka is a beautiful, authentic dining experience, particularly when accompanied by a lovely Grenache rosé. I allow the dish to stand by itself with a basket of hot, crusty rolls and butter. The crunchy rolls are an excellent contrast to the soft layers of eggplant, meat, and custardy bechamel sauce. Be prepared for ohs and ahs from your guests, and don't blush. You deserve them. Greek desserts have 2 facets. They are either exceedingly rich pastry, honey and nut confections, or fresh fruit. I would incline toward the fresh fruit, personally. The pastries are divine, but can be a bit heavy after such a meal. So let's explore the pleasures of composta lamsa, or orange compote. Select big, beautiful, sweet oranges and peel them. I usually use 6 for 6 people, or add 1 extra if you have a hint somebody might be greedy. Slice the oranges into 1/2 inch thick slices. This is really so easy. Layer the orange slices in your prettiest crystal bowl with pieces of walnuts, about a cup of nuts in all. Drizzle the fruit and nuts with 6 to 8 tablespoons of honey and 2 to 3 tablespoons full of anisette or ouzo. Then sprinkle the fruit with 1/4 teaspoonful of ground cloves and cinnamon mixed together. Let the entire concoction ripen at room temperature, covered tightly with plastic wrap for several hours. Serve the compote with strong, hot black coffee and perhaps a plain butter cookie. Go ahead. Go on, cheat. Buy the butter cookies. I won't tell. Have your honey available to sweeten the coffee, and perhaps some more anisette, ouzo, or metaxa brandy. If you desire a sweet wine after the meal, Mavro Daphne, or any one of the noble American substitutes, such as your favorite sweet dessert wine. Now, relax, sigh, enjoy your guests, for you have created a feast worthy of Olympus, home of the gods. It's a magnificent gesture. Your glow of pride and self-satisfaction should leave you radiant, as well as your guests. Revel in it. You did it, and you deserve the very best.